Hello, my beautiful friends. Welcome to my cozy little space. I am really happy to just sit down, have a really honest conversation with all of you about how I've been growing and changing, and also get us set up for October and some of the really big kind of seismic shifts that I think are happening. And I don't say that to be dramatic. I think it's honestly going to be a very exciting next several months, energetically speaking, a time of really big thematic changes. And October is kind of the point where we are setting the stage for just preparing our eyes, right, for a different light level, kind of adjusting our vision, kind of getting prepared. It's like if we were sitting in a dark room, we were waking up in a very dark morning and you just turn on a bright light. That's really, really painful. So this is about, October is about gently opening up a new light, opening up a new passageway, opening up some new cool fresh air, and also preparing our energy to feel really centered, really, really clear about what hungry ghosts are allowed to enter our space and what is absolutely not allowed to enter our space. So today is just going to be about catching up with you all, having a cozy chat with you, and also getting us prepared for October. So I want to just start off with just some honest things that have been going on with me. And if you are new here and this is the first time you've ever spent time with me, you have chosen a very interesting time to join me on the journey. I'm so happy you're here. Probably a lot of you who are watching this have been on the journey with me for a while, and I love you all so much. So whether you have just arrived or you've been here a little bit, this is an interesting point in my life. Many of you know this year I immigrated to Sweden. My partner's Swedish. We got married a couple of years ago, went through the whole immigration process, and this year was the year. I moved at the beginning of the year, and it has been such a spiritual journey for me, actually. I mean, everything is spiritual, right? Everything is spirit in motion, energetics in motion, right? But it has initiated me into new ways of seeing and understanding myself, my life. I feel like a beginner in everything all the time. My eyes are just wide open and I'm processing so much in any given day. It's really, really beautiful. But it's one of those interesting things too, where I kind of naively thought that I'd be able to keep my work the same. I was like, I might be moving countries. I might be moving through some initiations in life when it comes to aging and loss and all of these things that allow you to see the world in deeper ways. But one thing I can count on is that I'll be able to do my work the way I've been doing it for the last several years. And that will kind of feel like this anchor in the sea that I am in right now. But I think the rule is always that when you pull one thread in the tapestry, it affects all the other threads. There is no isolating one part of my life and putting it in a box and keeping it the same while my whole spirit is changing. And so one of the things that has happened with that is that this year, the monthly readings, my relationship with that process, with this ritual that I did every month for 5 years, every single month, what started to happen is I started to get really sick when I would do the monthly readings. And as many of you know, like I've been modulating between formats with that all year. because I have been struggling. And this is, I think, so important to share because I know many of you are energetic workers and sensitives and people who experience the world in really sensitive ways, and people who are doing work where they feel really pulled together and the perception of them is really pulled together and that they're just moving through it in this really chill way. I think we need to break that down because here's the thing, like it was making me physically ill. I would do a whole series of readings and I'd have the best of intentions. I'd be like, I want to offer these like gems of warmth and support and love. I want to feel connected to each of these energetic signs and feel that we're in communion. So I'm going to make these beautiful things. And so I would have this beautiful intention of doing the monthly readings and I would do them. And then what would happen is I would get really, really sick. I would be curled up in a ball. I'd be frozen. I would feel like I couldn't move for several hours after I would finish. Sometimes I would get like a stomach bug, or I would just break down. I'd just be so upset. And the logical part of my mind would be like, it's working. You're fine. Like, you don't need to feel so bad about this. Like, just keep going. But there was this whole other mechanics going on inside of me. And I think we can all relate to that when we keep doing something, right? We keep showing up to that relationship or that job or that location or that thing. And we can tell we're getting sick. We can tell that like something is off. But on paper, it should be working just fine. And yet there's this thing happening. And that's what started to happen to me with the monthly readings. And it was terrifying. It's terrifying. Like, this is who I am. This is how I built this space. This is how I have done my work for over 5 years, 5.5 years. Who am I without these readings? Will people still love me? Will I still have viability in the world? I had to face right into my haunted house and all the demons of culture as well that tell us that, we're wrong for changing, that it's scary, that it's bad, that there's something wrong with us. And I think I even let the very small percentage, and it's so small, you all, because you're such beautiful people. This community is beautiful people. And so it's just generally a really great space. But those few voices that told me I was abandoning them or being selfish or being uninteresting, I would let that take over and just crush me, and that would keep me trying to maintain the same status quo. With all of that being said, it's not that I want to stop sitting here with you all. It's just there was something about the monthly readings that just could not jive with me anymore. And it's been so scary to admit that. And I have been fighting against this change happening in me. And I think a lot of it has to do with the fact that I just want everybody to feel through their own intuitive knowing in their own way. And for me, the monthly readings are just really at cross purposes to what I'm trying to do. And I think along with that, one of the things I've been learning is I've been kind of facing through the inferno of having to face all those scared, hungry voices, both inside myself and in the culture, and kind of come into my own space. It's really owning the creative space that I want to own. And that means that I am not interested in making short form dopamine hit moments on the internet. And I'm not critiquing anybody who does that because the creativity involved is amazing. The energy, the creativity, the presence for that is beautiful, but it's not me. And there's a lot of pressure behind the scenes on YouTube and on Instagram to create a certain format so that we can be seen, so that we can be relevant to the culture. And I've decided, like, I don't care about that. I don't care about being relevant to culture anymore. I want to do my work the way that I want to do it, which is to create long form, nourishing, slow, intentional spaces where we talk about deeper energetic themes and we acknowledge the spiritual experience that we're on. And we do it in a way that is healthy and sustaining and nourishing and doesn't lead us on paranoid back alleys through our minds and leave us feeling hollowed out. I want this to be a space where I come and I feel nourished, where you come and you feel nourished. And I'm just holding that as my center. And once I tapped into that place of knowing like, oh, I'm not going to be pulled right and left and in every direction, up, down, all around by the algorithms and by the cultural waves of popularity, something really powerful broke open in me that is, no matter what happens in this life, I'm with myself. And that has been really, really empowering. It doesn't mean that I still don't go through really scary nights of the haunted house. That's something that still happens very regularly with me, but it does mean that I have a pathway where I have a touch tree. I have a breadcrumb trail that leads me back out of that haunted house every time I go in. And that has been really, really helpful. And I actually think all of these themes that I've been talking about in my personal, terrified, work-changing, life-changing phase that I'm going through, where it's just like I just genuinely cannot do one single thing the exact same way anymore, which has been so disorienting and terrifying. It really ties into a lot of October's themes. And I just wanted to talk about a few of them. There are other themes like eclipse season and Mars retrograde in Gemini that I'm going to do whole videos on that are happening this October. But there are a couple. There's 3 big outer planet conversations going on this month that I think are important to acknowledge here. And I just wanted to take a moment to set us up for that and to set us up for the potency of October. Because like I said, October is about adjusting our eyesight. It's about adjusting our perceptual gauge for everything. We start the month off with Mercury going direct, and that's going to be very clarifying. I think there's always kind of a fun thing that happens when Mercury goes direct. Whatever we've been learning over the last 6 weeks starts to crystallize and get clearer. So that's the first thing that I notice about October. There's a lot of honesty and crystal deep clarity. The waters run deep here. And then Pluto goes direct on October 8th. And Pluto does its retrograde every year for about 5 months. But this is starting to be an interesting point in Pluto's journey because Pluto is going to be moving into Aquarius in March 2023. And Pluto has been in Capricorn since 2008. Pluto always does these very long, kind of generational transits. And it's giving me chills thinking about this because we've been in the base of the mountain. We've been in the root system. We have been tunneling through and exploring places in our established culture this whole time, the last, 16 years. And we have really been, as a collective, and I think also as individuals, redefining success, worthiness, relevancy, all of these really deep themes that have to do with security, that have to do with our root system, that have to do with the way things have been done for generations, that have to do with the way that we perceive stability and worthiness in our role in life. So we've been doing some really deep work as a collective these 16 years. And next year, Pluto is going to start moving between Aquarius and Capricorn until the end of 2024. And I feel like this stationing direct of Pluto is the beginning of this much longer journey that we're going to be working with for the next 2 years with Pluto. And that has to do with once Pluto starts working in Aquarian energy, that's the eagle's eye view. So where we have been in the root system, we have been at the base of the mountain underneath, walking through these labyrinths inside of ourselves. Aquarian energy is going to be a total other perspective and vantage point. So one of the things I just want to mention here is this is a really beautiful time to notice what you are ready to carry with you out of those deep root systems. And also notice which root systems you are ready to walk out of and to start to slowly prepare your bags, prepare your energy to shift out of some of those root systems. Some of the root systems that are no longer serving us, that maybe were thriving before 2008, maybe made sense before then, but haven't since come to be closing down and cycling out. That's going to be a huge theme starting in October, and we'll be working with that until March. And we'll get back to Pluto, don't worry. We'll have a lot more conversations about Pluto's work in the coming months and next year. Another planet is going direct this month on the 22nd. Saturn is going direct in Aquarius. And this is also another planet that is going to be leaving its sign next year in March as well. Saturn is going to be moving into Pisces next year. So this is our last Saturn retrograde. We just moved through it. On October 22nd, we'll have finished our last Saturn retrograde in Aquarius. And Aquarius, it's been powerful. I think Saturn in Aquarius has asked us to face into our haunted houses, our fears, our worries, the stories our culture tells us in ways that have really challenged many, 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 many of us. And one of the things that I notice with Saturn stationing direct here, and as we move into these last months of the year, this is about knowing who we are. Being able to tap into that energetic signature that is at our core, that is all around us, and to be able to activate it like that, right? It's been stormy. We have been pulled in a lot of different directions over these last couple of years. And one of the things that comes out of that is a crystallizing understanding of what our core energy is, and to have the courage to be that and be with that, and not to listen to the hungry ghost voices that are blowing around this world constantly. And like I mentioned at the beginning of this video, this is something I definitely personally have been working through, maybe as a Leo sun, opposing this Saturn transit. I've been going through this probably in my own way, but there's been this crystallization of holding the center and just being ourselves. And that's not always flashy. It's not always performative. A lot of times being ourselves is just a knowing that burns at our core. And I think this month, between the Pluto direct and the Saturn direct, there is going to be an activation of that core knowing, that core lantern. So just kind of keep that visual in your mind as you are moving through the month of October. Tend to that lantern, make that lantern strong, honor that lantern, worship that lantern, connect with that lantern. That lantern is where our energetics are trying to take us so we can focus as these energies start to shift over the next several months. The final thing I wanted to talk about with October, because like I mentioned, we are doing separate eclipse videos. We are doing a separate Mars retrograde and Gemini video because those are big topics and I want to do them justice. So I just want to do these outer planet conversations. Final thing is that Jupiter has been in retrograde. It's moving back into Pisces on the 28th, I believe, 27th. Jupiter is moving back into Pisces. So we're going to have a 2-month window where Jupiter is back in Pisces. And we're just beginning this in October, but like I said, with taking care of the inner lantern, Jupiter in Pisces is about getting in touch with our spiritual gifts and understanding and seeing the world through the lens of spirit rather than through the lens of material, which is beautiful. I love Jupiter and Pisces energy. Jupiter thrives in Pisces. Jupiter is fantastic in Pisces. It also opens the doors. It opens the floodgates. So one of the things too is, once again, with Jupiter moving through Pisces for a little bit, owning our energy, being very clear with those hungry ghost voices in our culture, also within our internal family systems, about what we're going to allow, what kind of voices we are going to allow inside of ourselves, as well as coming at us. This is a really important time of really owning our energetics and centering in on that super, super clearly. I'll just mention here, because we can't do an October video without acknowledging that eclipse season is on its way at the end of the month. On the 25th, we are going to have the new moon and solar eclipse in Scorpio in the South Node. And that is eclipse season is going to be powerful because this is the birth and death axis, the portals through which we come in and go out. Our energy, does its whole creative thing. It's the creative axis, like how that works, how regeneration works. So we're going to be doing themes with letting go. Once again, like Pluto direct, letting go of root systems that are no longer serving us. I will get much more deeply into that on our Scorpio new moon solar eclipse chat, which will be coming out very, very soon. And Mars retrograde in Gemini. I love Mars retrogrades. I will give you a hint. I love Mars retrogrades. Some of the best things in my life have happened. Every Mars retrograde for the last 6 years or something have been positively amazing for me. Generally speaking, I will just say this. It requires us to take action in ways that are really in alignment with that inner lantern. And it can very much ignite movement with that inner lantern. So that is really going to be the visual I want you to take with you as we move into October. I'm so thankful for those of you who are with me on this really honest journey. I also want to take you around Stockholm here in October because it is really atmospheric here. In October and November, I want to show you around a little bit more, take you on some of the adventures that are going on for me here, even though I sit at home and knit a lot. I'll be honest with you. I sit at home and knit and read and meditate and think about life because I'm a little bit of a hermit inside, and that's my happy place. But I do want to show you this beautiful place and take you on my journey with me a little bit as we go into the really dark months in this northern place. So I'd love to do that. And if you haven't joined me on Patreon before, this is where I'm able to offer these kinds of deeper chats more and more frequently. So I would really love to see you there. It's a beautiful community, and I offer up a lot of extra resources there, and it's a great way to support me. You can also find me on my website and on my email, and I would love it if you stuck around because we have so much more that we're going to be doing here. And I'm hoping to do a lot more like raw, honest chats with you all about like what's going on and what's breaking my heart and what's confusing me about being a human and being a space blob in a human body. So I'm really looking forward to connecting with you here in this space. Thank you so much and have a beautiful October, my amazing friends. You mean the world to me.